We start looking now at 1 John chapter 2 verse 17, where John writes, "And the world is passing away along with its desires, but whoever does the will of God abides forever." So with this, we come to a similar phrase from John, and it's this phrase, passing away. So just as the darkness is passing away, we read about in verse 8, then the world is passing away. And we have to see what John is really meaning here. It would be very easy for us to think that when he says the world is passing away, he means that the world is time-based, temporal. And although the whole fleeting nature of the world with it passing away is true in a temporal way, this is not what John wants us to see here. He is still reminding us of the darkness that is passing away. Remember, the Prince of Darkness, although he is still battling on, is beaten. And knowing that he has lost the battle, and therefore he's losing the ground, and that one day he will be taken from the field of battle altogether. Because the light is shining and the darkness is passing away. And that's from verse 8. And so the same is true for the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. These also are passing as the light is shining. And so that's what we've been looking at over the last week. The lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the pride of life, the desires that we have. These are also passing as the light is shining. And so as John says in verse 17, the world is passing away along with its desires, but whoever does the will of God abides forever. And so remember, as he said in verse 8, the darkness is passing away and the true light is already shining. And so here we have this same phrase, passing away. The world is passing away. The darkness is passing away. And so the world is all about, as we've been learning over the last week, not doing the will of God. It is where the will of God is not done. The desire or the lust of the world is not to do the will of God. And this is what we've spent the last week looking at. But remember, if we go back to verse 8 with the darkness passing away, we spent a bit of time looking at that. And we saw what that meant. Now John is talking about the world, whether this be the lust of the flesh, where people love the pleasures of life more than the giver of life, where people carry out their own will rather than God's will. And then on to the lust of the eyes, where we envy others who prosper more than we do. And then to the pride of life, where I am at the mercy of the opinion of others, where I have no freedom to do the will of God, for I'm at the mercy of others because I'm more fearful of what they would think rather than what God would think. And so as we begin to look at this verse here, we need to remember that just as the darkness is passing away and the true light is emerging, as we learnt in verse 8, then we need to know that not doing the will of God with the world and its desires, they also must pass away. They are passing away. The darkness passes. We saw that in verse 8. Now the world and its desires, its lusts, pass away also. Because remember, Jesus came into the world to redeem the world, to save the world from its sins, its lusts and its desires, that we would do the will of God, that we would obey God our Father and bring glory to him. And so this is, as we've seen over the last months now, how this is just building up. And John, as I said, is just laying down the foundations, and then he's adding to those foundations the bricks and the mortar, which go up to us then doing the will of God, that we would bring glory to the Father, that we would be following Jesus. And so this is what John is doing now. He's continuing this, where he's saying the world will pass away, and desires will pass away. That's really just the introduction to verse 17. We'll continue with verse 17 for a few more days now. And so with that in mind, take care and God bless.